There's nothing wrong with hormones of stress. I mean, that's the only way we could actually survive. We're part human, part animal, part divine. I mean, we have two things at work here. 70% of the time, people are living in that state of survival, living in that state of stress. The more you understand what that actually does to you, the more you can make better choices on how long you actually do want to stay there.
Imagine life in survival mode, much like an animal, such as a deer peacefully grazing in the heart of the forest. In this state, it exists in perfect harmony, a state of homeostasis where all bodily functions are in balance. But the tranquility is disrupted when the animal perceives a threat in the outside world, like a lurking predator. It is at this moment that its fight or flight response, a part of the autonomic nervous system responsible for maintaining automatic bodily functions, comes to life. This sympathetic nervous system swiftly activates the adrenal glands, triggering the release of enormous amounts of energy. This energy surge prepares the animal to confront the impending emergency. If the deer is being chased by a pack of coyotes, it taps into this newfound energy to make a hasty escape. If it manages to elude danger, and after roughly 15 to 20 minutes, when the threat subsides, the deer can return to its grazing activities, its internal equilibrium restored. As humans, we share the same system. When we perceive danger, our sympathetic nervous system kicks into gear, mobilizing energy and initiating various bodily changes, mirroring the deer's response. In the early stages of human history, this incredibly adaptive mechanism helped us face threats from predators and other survival risks. These animalistic qualities played a pivotal role in our evolutionary journey as a species. Unfortunately, there are several differences between Homo sapiens and our planetary cohabitants in the animal kingdom that don't serve us as well. Every time we knock the body out of chemical balance, that's called stress. The stress response is how the body innately responds when it's knocked out of balance and what it does to return back to equilibrium. Whether we see a lion in the Serengeti bump into our not-so-friendly ex at the grocery store or freak out in freeway traffic because we're late for a meeting, we turn on the stress response because we are reacting to our external environment. Unlike animals, we have the ability to turn on the fight or flight response by thought alone. And that thought doesn't have to be about anything in our present circumstances. We can turn on that response in anticipation of some future event. Even more disadvantageous, we can produce the same stress response by revisiting an unhappy memory that is stitched in the fabric of our gray matter. So either we anticipate stress response producing experiences or we recollect them. Our bodies are either existing in the future or in the past. To our detriment, we turn short-term stressful situations into long-term ones. On the other hand, as far as we can tell, animals don't have the ability, or should I say disability, to turn on the stress response so frequently and so easily that they can't turn it off. That deer, back to happily grazing, isn't consumed with thoughts about what just happened a few minutes ago, let alone the time a coyote chased it 2 months ago. This kind of repetitive stress is harmful to us because no organism was designed with a mechanism to deal with negative effects on the body when the stress response is turned on with great frequency and for a long duration. In other words, no creature can avoid the consequences of living in long-term emergency situations. When we turn on the stress response and can't turn it off, we're headed for some type of breakdown in the body. Let's say you keep turning on the fight or flight system due to some threatening circumstance in your life, real or imagined. As your racing heart pumps enormous amounts of blood to your extremities and your body is knocked out of homeostasis, you're becoming prepared by the nervous system to run or fight. But let's face it, you can't flee to the Bahamas, nor can you throttle your fellow employee. That would be primitive. So as a consequence, you condition your heart to race all the time, and you may be headed for high blood pressure, arrhythmias, and so on. And what's in store when you keep mobilizing all that energy for some emergency situation? If you're putting the bulk of your energy towards some issue in your external environment, there will be little left for your body's internal environment. Your immune system, which monitors your inner world, can't keep up with the lack of energy for growth and repair. Therefore, you get sick, whether it be from a cold, cancer, or rheumatoid arthritis. All are immune-mediated conditions. When you think about it, the real difference between animals and ourselves is that although we both experience stress, humans re-experience and pre-experience traumatic situations. What is so harmful about having our stress response triggered by pressures from the past, present, and future? When we get knocked out of chemical balance so often, eventually that out of balance state becomes the norm. As a result, we are destined to live out our genetic destiny. And in most cases, that means suffering from some illness. The reason is clear. The domino effect from the cascade of hormones and other chemicals we release in response to stress can dysregulate some of our genes, and that may create disease. In other words, repeated stress pushes the genetic buttons that cause us to begin to head toward our genetic destiny. So what was once very adaptive behavior and a beneficial biochemical response, fight or flight, has become a highly maladaptive and harmful set of circumstances. For instance, when a lion was chasing your ancestors, the stress response was doing what it was designed to do: protect them from their outer environment. That's adaptive. But if, for days on end, you fret about your promotion, over-focus on your presentation to upper management, or worry about your mother being in the hospital, these situations create the same chemicals as though you were being chased by a lion. Now, that's maladaptive. You're staying too long in emergency mode. Fight or flight is using up the energy your internal environment needs. Your body is stealing this vital energy from your immune, digestive, and endocrine systems, among others, and directing it to the muscles that you'd use to fight a predator or run from danger. But in your situation, that's only working against you. From a psychological perspective, overproduction of stress hormones creates the human emotions of anger, fear, envy, and hatred, incites feelings of aggression, frustration, anxiety, and insecurity, and causes us to experience pain, suffering, sadness, hopelessness, and depression. Most people spend the majority of their time preoccupied with negative thoughts and feelings. Is it likely that most of the things that are happening in our present circumstances are negative? Obviously not. Negativity runs so high because we are either living in anticipation of stress or re-experiencing it through a memory. So most of our thoughts and feelings are driven by those strong hormones of stress and survival.